It's like the real estate market collectively lost its mind. And in today's video, we're gonna discuss why you might regret buying a home in 2022. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit, product, penalty, price in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. All right, so welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna discuss why you might regret buying a home in 2022. And we're gonna break this down into three types of borrowers. The first type is the first-time homebuyer or the person who may not be in the market at this moment. The second type is the move up or move down buyer. And the third type is the investor, or more precisely in this market, the speculator. But before we get into it and discuss the three types of buyers and whether or not you should be buying in 2022, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where when we hit 25,000, we're gonna give away $5,000 to one lucky winner. But in order to win, you have to be subscribed and you have to be watching to make sure that you know how to enter the draw when we do hit that 25,000. So also make sure that you hit that notification bell. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss whether or not you should be buying a home in 2022. I want to point you real quickly to the news article, as we tend to. This is from BNN Bloomberg. This was a study done between rates.ca and BNN Bloomberg, a survey more or less. And what this talks about is that 19% of recent home buyers own multiple homes. So in other words, they are buying a home and turning their existing property into a rental, or they're buying a purpose-bought rental. So basically 1 in 5 homes, according to this survey, not sure how accurate it is, but 1 in 5 homes are being bought by somebody who is an investor or somebody who is turning a property into an investment. And then there's a small sort of fringe, I guess, that could potentially be people who are just having second homes that are cottages and so on and so forth. But for the most part, most people are buying properties with the intention of having one to rent out, whether that's the one that they're buying or the one that they already own. And this is getting really, really interesting because obviously in the last year in Ontario and BC, we saw a lot of people who are in the market complaining about speculators, complaining about people who are buying properties for investment purposes. And that, quite honestly, is something that was quite fearful in those markets. But what's interesting is, as of right now, in Calgary and the Prairie provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, what we're seeing is we are seeing an influx of speculators from other provinces. And what that means is that they're coming to the market and they're trying to buy investment properties. Now, some of them are doing it above board and they're saying, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to buy an investment property. I want to put 20% down because I think the market in Calgary or Edmonton or Regina or Manitoba, wherever it is, they think that that market is undervalued compared to the rest of the country. So they want to buy in that market with the hopes that properties will appreciate. And while at the same time, they are holding rental properties that are going to be earning them income. And that's totally cool. We're also seeing, though, some people coming into the market who are saying, hey, I want to buy property and I want to have it as a rental and I have 5% down. And then they find out that you need 20% down to purchase a rental property. And when they find out that you need 20% down, they say, well, actually, I'm going to move to Calgary or Edmonton or wherever. And then you say to them, well, hold on a second. First, you were going to buy it as a rental. Now you're going to move to Calgary. Okay, that's totally cool. But now what we need is we need your employer to say that they're transferring you to Calgary, or we need you to show that you have employment in Calgary that makes sense for you to move from another city to here. And of course, when we get to that point in time, they go, well, what if I can't get that? And you say, well, then you probably aren't moving to Calgary if you can't get something that states that, or moving to Edmonton or whatever city it is. And then they tend to go away. But these people are basically doing what's called mortgage fraud. And a mortgage fraud is as simple as this. It is a misrepresentation or an omission. That is how broad the definition of mortgage fraud is. A misrepresentation or an omission on a mortgage application. I cannot stress that enough. So what is interesting, though, is the reason why people are doing this is because they are trying to not get left behind in the real estate market. So they're going to other markets, they're trying to buy properties, they're doing it oftentimes above board, but sometimes not above board. And it's purely because there's this fear that if they don't invest, they're going to lose out in the market. And what I'm here to tell you is this: when markets get frothy like this, when there's lots of speculation, the downturn tends to be way worse than what you expect. So for example, those people who are coming to buy in Calgary who own properties and live in other areas, what they probably don't realize is that Alberta is a very cyclical economy. It has a lot to do with the oil industry, and good times become bad times really quick, and then bad times become good times really quick. And here's my fear, is if you're buying a property in some place that you don't understand and you're speculating, hoping that values will go up and trying not to miss the boat, Well, when the market does turn and you aren't on the ground in that area, you're going to be wanting to get out of that property really fast. And what that means is that that market could crash more than what a more stable market may do. I'm not saying Calgary is a less stable market, but that market, if it's got a ton of external investors, could crash a lot harder than markets that don't. And what that ultimately means is if you're buying a property in an area that you don't understand, well, that ultimately could be a very, very poor investment because you don't understand the market. Not to mention the fact that just speculating in general is what leads really good people to make really bad financial decisions and see their net worth go past zero on the way down. So here's the deal. The question is, will you regret buying a home in 2022? And I mentioned that there's 3 types of buyers right now. The first is a first-time home buyer or somebody who is not currently in the market. Those people have a need, not a want to buy a house. They need to be in the market. They need to be purchasing a property because they're renting or they don't have a place to live. And my friend Steve Kresh from Vancouver said this really, really well a couple of weeks ago when we did our 2022 predictions video. He said, this is the type of market where it is a needs market, not a wants market. So if you want to buy property, it's not a good time. But if you need to buy property, it's always a good time. And what he meant by want is, if you're a type of buyer who doesn't necessarily need to move up right now, if you're the type of buyer who's only buying to invest, if you're the type of buyer who's buying to speculate, you don't need to be participating in this market and basically participating in bidding wars where houses are selling for $130,000, $150,000, $170,000 more than what they're listed for, and specifically for more than what they were listed for in September, October, or November. So what he's saying is that anytime you need to buy a property is the right time to buy a property. If it's a need situation, then absolutely. And if you're not on the market and you're worried about getting priced out, then chances are right now it is a needs situation. And because you're buying that property and you have a long-term plan to live in it, you have less risk because you're obviously going to continue to pay your mortgage bills in the long term, especially considering that you're going to continue to need a place to live. So that's the type of buyer where, yeah, I can see it making sense to purchase in this market. Next type of buyer is somebody who already owns a property and maybe wants to move up or move down. This is the type of market where it makes sense to move down because you always want to move down when markets are strong, because obviously when the markets turn, you will lose less on a smaller property than you will on a bigger property. And this is not the type of market where you want to be moving up because obviously you're paying a greater premium on a higher price property than you would be on a lower price property that you're selling or that your buyers would be paying that when they're buying it from you. So this is definitely not the type of market that is a move up market. A move up market you want to buy when there is less froth and where you have the ability to go in and make deals. And then last but not least, the third type of buyer is the speculator. And the speculator or the investor is definitely somebody who doesn't want to buy when everybody else is buying. The best time to buy properties as an investor is when nobody else is doing it. And think of it this way. Warren Buffett once said, a good time to be greedy is when other people are fearful. That's when the market's in a downturn. And a good time to be fearful is when other people are greedy. And what we're seeing in the real estate market right now at this moment is a ton of greed, a ton of craziness, and that tends to not end very well. In my entire career, I don't think I've seen more than a 6 to a 12-month period in 2006, 2007, where I looked at the market and I went, wow, this is getting scary. It looks like it could be in a bubble. Right now, in 2022, this is the first time that I'm really, really starting to get scared, especially seeing people from Ontario and BC coming into markets like Alberta where they don't understand the market and just going, give me whatever house I can get for whatever price it is. We're seeing bidding wars where houses are selling for significantly more than what they're listed for with 20, 30, 40 offers. This is just the type of market that really scares the crap out of me, especially considering the fact, and this is the most important piece of this video, that you're buying into an environment where we know that interest rates are going to go up. And when those interest rates do go up by 1% or 2%, if you follow the 1%, 10% rule, a 1% increase in interest rates is going to have a 10% decrease in the potential values of properties. A 2% increase is a 20% decrease. And ultimately, we know that we're buying into higher interest rates. We know that we're going to be buying into a market that is going to be cooled by the Bank of Canada in some way, shape, or form. And therefore, it just doesn't make a ton of sense to be purchasing a property unless you fall into that category of somebody who needs to buy this year rather than somebody who just wants to buy. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and we'll see you on the very next one. Cheers.